All right, Paul, you're on.
Well, trick or treat. Here we are. It's October 20th, cool and brisk and rainy and cold. And here we go. So as we talked a little bit earlier, we all hope for a mild winter, but we shall see, as the Three Stooges would say. So in any event, we have a Brookline review tonight. I don't have anything in particular, John, to mention as far as opening announcements. Larry or a new prez are not available. So on the Zoom tonight, it looks like. So I know Larry is deep in the relocating mode and may get to us next time around. So I would just say if you've got some photos for Brookline or anything to add, pop it in.
Okay, yeah, I can't think of any announcements either. Why don't we do the part? We'll do the part if anyone has any ongoing projects, items they've recently acquired, or anything they want to announce for sale. All of that. We'll let's do that now.
I do have a quick question for Bruce Frederick, where he's got the RCA there. Has the chassis progressed far enough that you've been able to pick anything up on it? What do you think of the TRF circuit? Because I know
nowhere near.
Super heterodyne.
Yeah, no, I'm nowhere near that. Right now I cleared out all the wax and paper capacitors. I pulled the filter capacitor. Took very, very careful notes and a million photos because I don't usually pull all the caps at one time and then replace them. I just, it's the path to unhappiness. But in this case, I wanted to clear the space out, and I had a lot of wires in there with rotting rubber insulation, so I had to clear those out, and that's where I'm at right now. I've replaced some of the wires. All the caps are pulled. I've only put one back in so far, so I'm not anywhere near towards powering it up yet. But actually, while I got you guys here, I've got one question so far though. The RF coil should be attached to the chassis with a little clamp at the bottom. You got the circular coil, and then down towards the base there should be a riveted clamp on it, and that clamp goes to the chassis. That's one of the things that apparently disappeared 40 years ago, and it was just hanging in there on the wires that it was soldered to. Do you guys have any tricks for adding a clamp, something that will easily attach to the coil that I'd be able to attach to the chassis?
I don't know if it's much of a trick, but I've on one unit I had these stubby cans, and it was to replace some other electrolytics, but I just use a really heavy RTV right on the chassis after cleaning it with a bit of solvent. Yeah, a goop of RTV, and I stuck it on there, and they hold great.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
solid
it's not exactly a good restoration, but it holds it.
Yeah,
a glue gun would also probably work similar.
Okay. I hadn't. I was thinking metal, but that's
what matters.
Right? If you want to put it inside something, then you could glue gun or RTV it to the chassis after you did that.
Beautiful, great idea. I was thinking metal clamps of some sort, so that's good. Thank you.
Just don't take it out on a day that's over 90 degrees or the glue will melt again.
No, I don't. I think this will, as long as it survives the trip back to Idaho, I don't think it's going to be going out much after that. But okay, great.
Now, does that have a ballast in it, Bruce, or is that a transformer set?
It is. It has a curtain burner. And that's one of the reasons I was really looking forward to working on it. And there's quite a good discussion going on groups.io with a lot of people throwing out different ideas, resistor and diode, and the capacitor approach. And somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody suggested using a motor capacitor, specifically a ceiling fan capacitor. And it's like, yeah, that's great. Well, because once I took those paper capacitors out, I got so much room in there. I could, probably put in a sink or something. It's amazing how much room those old ones took up. But I've got plenty of room for the ceiling fan capacitor. I've got it ordered, and I'm going to be what I'm curious about is how it tunes up, how it aligns, because I've never worked on a TRF before.
In North Carolina, at any point between 1953 and 1987.
Here,
Background there.
let me see.
Hey,
if I can-
Bruce, just a question for you. Do you have, what was the year of manufacture for that set? Do you know?
38, I believe.
38.
The,
Yeah, I mean,
the,
you know, there wasn't, a lot of people didn't have a ton of money. So, I mean, there was a place for those types of sets in that era. So probably brought somebody some happiness, back in the day.
is that a 3-coil set?
2-coil.
2-coil.
and our-
Okay. And the tuning cap, are those 2 coils ganged together?
The coils are not ganged together. The tuning cap is a 2-gang.
Okay, all right, so 1 for each coil. I'm gonna make you really happy then. Alignment is very, very easy.
Okay.
You find a good station, hook up your AC voltmeter to the speaker output.
Yeah.
To see what you're getting, and then you just peak the 2 trimmers on the cap. That's all you have to do.
Okay, now I saw that in the instructions, in the service
Yep,
information I downloaded, and I thought, oh, there's got to be
Nope.
something missing.
that's the only time it gets tricky is if you've got like an Atwater Chem 55, because first you have to get all 3 caps in sync. But then again, as I'm thinking about, the AK 55 didn't have a trimmer cap, so yeah, no, it's real easy to do. If it takes you more than 15 minutes, you've gone too far.
And I assume that you should ideally align it to a particular station you're going to listen to, or somewhere in the middle of the dial, because
Yep, might as well.
it's kind of, if my reading is any indication, they're not very good at being consistent across the dial, right?
No. But they're neat little radio. Does yours have AGC in it, or?
No, I don't believe it does. It doesn't.
Oh, you'll enjoy that.
And I can't tell you, before it goes back to Idaho, pack it as best as you possibly can.
Yeah, double box. And I actually lectured him, and he did a nice job. He
good
got
job.
the tubes out, individually wrapped in bubble wrap, tucked inside the cab,
Yeah.
double boxed. It's like, all right.
Bruce,
I recently
Bruce
picked up
Phillips.
a Firestone from a fellow out in Washington State who's been in the hobby for a long time, and we thought he had it packed up good enough, but I'm fortunate the chassis is okay, but the case was just trashed. And it's one of those thin wooden cases with the tiny, almost like more like tacks than nails, and it's been a beast. But unfortunately I did goof. I put the bottom in the wrong way. I've managed. I came to the conclusion that glue and clamps are my best friend with this, and I've actually snipped some of the tacking nails down to the nub, and just went with a bunch of wood glue and painted it in as best I could. It's a fairly small set, and I don't really anticipate it being put through the ringer. So I think hopefully it'll all hold back together, but I currently just have one piece that's left to go back in, a beveled piece of the front. It had sort of this beveled look on a pretty plain wooden case, but it's kind of a neat little set. It's made by Arvin for Firestone, and it's 6 tubes, not bad. And I got it from a friend of mine. So, but just even no matter what the distance, it just seems as if
Might be a
packing something for shipping is
Good
just
time to
becoming
send.
more of a challenge,
Yeah. I know that
Unfortunately,
Bruce Phillips wrote a great email treatise on how to pack a
How to
radio
pack a
shipping.
radio.
I might have saved it because he said, well, if I ever needed to, that was about as.
There's a
as good
few of
as-
those out on the internet, as
Yeah.
far as different people's preferences involving peanuts and padding, and we could do a whole show on that. We could do.
Oh, probably. I think a how-to. You know, someone
radio,
packing up a radio.
so-
I mean, well,
And,
great.
and
Probably
those
you ship
German
all over.
sets are brutal, John, as you probably know. They do not ship well. The
No.
Germans, too much space in those cabinets, you know.
Oh
so-
gosh, there's a lot in there. You know, you have to put a. Some people have done is they've taken the tubes out and wrapped them in bubble wrap themselves, just in case the thing
Yeah.
wants to pop loose because of all the space in there. I did have one radio I lost. I actually ended up giving to Roger. It was a nice little telephone in Jubilee, a US spec radio, tabletop based, but nice little radio. It arrived at the household. Everything looked good. It was one of the early radios I bought off of eBay, and I made the one rookie mistake I never did again. Because it was a working radio, plugged it in, fired up. I see bright flash, and it stops. And I said, "Oh." So I took the back off, which is what I should have done before powering it up. And I saw that the ferrite bar had broken loose off its mounting, clearly due to vibration being bounced off of something. And so it's lying there on short circuiting something in circuitry, and the bright flash and I'm no question the fuse popped. But in other words, everything else was intact. That's what fooled me. Everything looked great. Radio looked great, but nope. You can't trust. You have to look at the innards too. And I learned that many years ago, and I never got burned. I don't buy eBay all that often. Pretty rare, but I've learned that lesson well.
Anything that goes through an automated mechanized sorting and shipping configuration, whether I sent it to Boston to New Jersey or Boston to Portland, Oregon, you can write fragile on it as much as you want, and it's really what
They
you
roll
do
down conveyors.
get there in one place.
Yeah, I think the difference is that less people jumping up and down on top of the box. That's about the difference between fragile and not.
I always think of that commercial. What was it, for American Tourister with the gorilla? In the
Yeah,
cage?
exactly. American Tourister.
That's
All they're
basically-
doing is throwing it around. He doesn't jump up and down.
Yeah, and he pulls it out. It's a pulverized All-American 6. So
Exactly.
But-
So.
in any event, all right. Well, I do have one thing I will attempt to show you all. This is something
Yeah.
I've been
Okay.
listening to. It came through pretty good. It's a quartz synthesized techniques AM/FM receiver amp with the some people will laugh at them. They don't like those slider controls that were kind of popular. I guess this is probably like early
Yep.
80s.
Sure.
I mean, the thing sounds awful good. I mean, it even picks up very weak FM signal. So I'm going to try to slide my
sure.
only camera is in the computer here. So let's see what we can do here and see if I can
Sure.
show you, see how it comes up on the screen here as best I can. It's
There
sitting
we
on
go.
top of,
Oh yeah. That's a very familiar design.
and I've read a little bit about it, and apparently it's a little more sought after than some people give it credit for by some audiophiles, of which I'm not. But I got to say, it's only about 30 watts a channel, but it tunes great, and the digital is really a nice feature on a because some of the no matter how hard you tune, some of the big old analog Kenwoods and Pioneers, it's hard to lock in. The only thing that was kind of weird about this, and I can't really get behind it, is it had, so apparently for the memory on some of these early sets, instead of having some kind of a circuit that would suck the AC off the power supply, you have to put in, I think it's like 3 AA batteries in the back. There was a little compartment that I had to fit them in to hold the memory. And they were really toasted. I had a lot of vinegar and toothbrush and you're scraping and cleaning, but that was really the only problem with the thing. So keep my fingers crossed it keeps playing. But it belonged to some guy on the West Coast. He had customized his presets with little paper labels, and rather than mess with them and make it look worse, I decided I'd just leave them on there and put in my local Boston preset. So
nice.
It's been fun. I have it on hooked to a couple of little KLH speakers, and it's nice. So
Nice.
not a bad find.
No.
And that made it from California to my house. So
Yeah, the solid state have a better chance to get out overall.
it was packed really well. A lot of people stick with that 2-box theory. Sometimes I'll wrap kind of like a cardboard sleeve around it from top and then around the sides to kind of serve as like a AirSats second box, and then do the I mean, everybody has their technique, but maybe we'll save that for a future Zoom. Share with us your best pack techniques.
There you go.
Maybe you want to queue up Brookline, John, before we keep
Yeah.
gabbing here. And
Yeah, sure. I think Tom had something he wanted to show us before we move on.
Sure thing.
So Tom, you must have got something from the MIT event.
Oh yes, he had a flea market find,
That's
and that
right.
got great reviews. I saw many people had a nice time. So, last one of the year, apparently, correct? I think you got your mute on, Tom.
Here we go. Here's Tom. All right, what you got there, Tom?
Okay, well, a guy came up to me and said, I know you're into crypto stuff. And I have some stuff from the estate of William Frizzle. A wonderful name.
Frizzle.
William Frizzle. He was a Mainer, and he spent most of his time in Korea doing cryptology, meaning that he was trying to decipher the enemy stuff. And along with a machine, they brought me this huge pile of his books. And it starts out with this one, which is hard enough just to lift, much less read. And then you have this incredible tome with some of the pattern words. When you're studying cryptology, you have to really get into the construction of words. And this one, Elements of Cryptology by the famous William Friedman. And it just went on with this book, which is just full of all kinds of crypto stuff. But the one thing that's kind of fun, at the very end of the book, he made his own code wheel.
Oh,
6 levels of complexity on the thing. And that was pretty fun. And that just came along free, along with the machine.
Wow.
Here's the machine. The machine is in the worst condition, I think, that I've ever seen a machine in. This is the famous M209, which is the machine that was used during World War II and the Korean War by the Americans. You can see how bad it is by perhaps a close-up of the tweezers that you use for setting the thing. Heavily rusted, and the top of the case just comes right off. It's supposed to pivot up, but it's in really miserable condition. And then you get down to the machine itself and you open the front cover of the machine, and that's not hinged anymore. It just comes off in your hand.
okay.
But the beautiful thing about it is the machine works. And that's
Look at that.
you set the letter that you want to encode by turning this little wheel here on the front, and then you turn this big knob on the left side, and you could see all kinds of weird things going on inside there. And when it gets finished, it prints out the coded letter on a little piece of paper tape. So that was really fun. These things sell for $4,000 to $5,000 these days, and he wanted $400 for it. I figured that was fairly reasonable, but it's going to be a winter project to try and match the paint. Anyway,
Wow,
I thought
that's
you'd
cool.
enjoy that. That was a
Yeah.
fun finding. And you want me to go on with a little more Friedrichshafen, Germany stuff, John?
Yeah, sure. Why not? You can. Why don't we give you like a 10 or 15 minute slide and do that, and then we'll go to jump to Brookline. And then if John wants to do EWA next weekend, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. This is a just continuing a walk around the hundreds and hundreds of dealers at the Friedrichshafen Hamfest in Germany last June. This is a German field radio transmitter and receiver in the back, and another smaller transceiver in the front. And we go on to this, which is another German field set that you see down in the bottom. And to my great embarrassment, there is an Enigma case up here on the right. And I didn't see it when I took the picture. So I probably walked by an Enigma for the first time in my life. It probably is an empty case, but I'll never know. Anyway, moving on.
Well, for your sake, we'll think it is.
That's right.
Right. This is a cute little kit. I don't know whether it's a commercial kit or something that someone put together. It looks sort of homebrew to me. Radio a Reazioni. And then there were just tons and tons of telegraph keys. There are still a lot of people that are making telegraph keys. You never know what you're going to find at this. And these are current Russian gas masks that were just in a big pile along with some hazmat suits on the table. So it's always exciting to see what turns up. This is another one of those wonderful little German sets that was used primarily as a morale set during World War II. You were supposed to listen to the Fuhrer and patriotic music on it. And if you were caught tuning other stations in, the penalty was very, very severe. But quite a few of these were made, and many of them, if not most of them, were used on submarines to keep the crew in tune and in touch with the homeland.
Sure.
Couple of nice little sets here. I don't know what they are. Can't really see
Yeah, it's hard to tell. They don't look that familiar. Handful things probably look like they're maybe late 50s, early 60s. That's,
Honestly, the
WGW.
The numerics on the dial almost look like Emerson.
Yeah.
One at the bottom says W. Is it W something W?
Can't really make it out.
The numbers are in meters instead of conventional kilocycles.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, I have a question that maybe you or someone else can answer. But going back to the morale set, how would a radio inside a steel submarine underwater be able to receive anything?
That's a good question, Carl. They only could receive when they were on the surface.
Okay.
Absolutely no reception underwater whatsoever.
I didn't think so, but
you know, they might have tried floating a little antenna on a piece of wood with coax going to it, but I don't think that would work very well. So they used the submarine's cable cutting wire along the front, went from the conning tower down to the bow, and it was insulated at both ends. And it was very strong, so it would cut through the cables that held mines in position and not pull the mine down onto the submarine. And they could use that wire also for an antenna.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. A bunch of tubes, a bunch more telegraph keys, but right here in the right side under that white piece of paper, it turns out is a cipher machine. And it just shows you how incredibly difficult it is to spot things on these tables. There are a whole bunch of telegraph keys, but you had to look very carefully under that piece of paper. And it was a very interesting cipher machine from the Cold War. And the guy wanted about $9,000 for it. And one of our people bought it sight unseen. It's a really important piece of cipher machine history. So lots of other keys, very rare keys and wonderful. This blue one in the middle is a very seldom seen Bauer. Hannes Bauer made these keys. And he's one of these guys who made the keys extremely well and designed them in unique ways, but he got bored after he made each key. So he'd make one of these things and then he'd say, well, okay, that worked. And he'd go on to another one. And consequently, they're extremely rare. Each of the keys he made was extremely rare, either a 1 or a 2 off, and very much sought after by collectors. But he never settled down and made anything in quantity. He was always moving on to something else. These are some modern keys made by people in Germany who are into making cute little small telegraph keys, and just piles of them. The keys that you see in sort of the left side of this picture are all classic German World War II field keys, but somebody's taken all the normal knobs off them except for the lower leftmost one, which has the proper knob, and put really weird knobs on them. And that tends to reduce their collector value. A lot of Vibraplexes and wannabe Vibraplex keys there. Surprisingly, number of American Vibraplexes find their way to Germany. They're pretty popular over there. And they telegraph a recorder at the end there, just on and on, tables of these things. So it's a heaven for a key collector. Move on to a couple more radios here. I don't know what the one in back there is, but one in front
Gold
is a
Star.
Yeah, I don't know Gold Star, but
yeah, they've been around. You can find them like in you know, like in the Kmart's or the, you know, you can find them in the US.
They're still around, but they're now branded LG.
LG.
There we go.
LG stood for Lucky Gold Star.
That's right.
It's
life is good, LG.
There we go. Right.
You know, I have a friend who has a TV that was a Lucky Gold Star.
Yeah.
And he had it from college. Now, this goes back to the early 80s.
Really?
The thing will still run. It's amazing. You know, it's like probably like a lot of companies, there were probably a few things that they did so right, you just can't kill it, you know?
Yeah. This looks like a nice little Grundig speaker. I don't know if the
Yeah. It's
on
like a
the
bookshelf
bottom
speaker. Yeah.
is that a Grundig on the bottom also?
That
says
does not look like a Grundig.
WEBBE.
Says
Is that
Webby.
it could be some there's a host of like
Syndicas.
there's a host of like, you know, just like in the US, you know, manufacturers that either, you know, went belly up, you know, World War II, or they coalesce into us, you know, into larger companies. I almost, you know, it's handsome radio. Almost thought it was a telephone at first glance because it's similar in design, but what they used to put out at that time.
To the left of that is a little Sony ICF series shortwave MFM. And I had one of those in the 80s that I listened to shortwave till the cows came home on that thing. Took it everywhere. Took it to the beach. Listened to the BBC broadcast Wimbledon. I mean, it was a fun radio. I must have had
Those are outstanding little radios.
Yeah, they were really well made. And the more expensive ones had a BFO in it, so you could listen to Morse code with it. Pretty popular among many, many shortwave listeners.
Very durable, very cool. Good price.
This is a Datechik Russian burst encoder. It's designed so you type in a message on this little keyboard here, and you then hook this thing to a transmitter, and you hit a button, and it sends the message at extremely, extremely high speed for a very, very short period of time. And that made it impossible for the enemy to zero in on your location. You couldn't direction find on a burst of data like that in those days. So it was a very popular device. They sell now for about $1,500. Fairly rare and desirable among various collectors. This is a huge antenna tuner system with the driving electronics on top, and more telegraph keys with a little Morse code trainer in back, and you can plug in a lot of keys to the front and it generates tones. This is a field portable Russian radio, such as they are using now. The radios on the right and the accessories, including antennas and earphones and stuff, are in the bag on the left. They like to have things neatly bagged up so they can transport them quickly from one location to another. And this is back at our Enigma stand. So I think that's enough for tonight, John. And as you know, we can go on for the rest of the year.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, that's fine. I like the fact that you just, you know, give us a little taste every so often. It's fun. Some neat toys out there that we rarely see out on these shores. Great. Thank you, Tom.
John, I did find the AWA photos. I have about 107 of them.
Oh, okay.
It's of the flea market and the equipment contest.
Okay.
And so next week we could do it, or whenever you want.
Okay, let's queue you up for next meeting. If if you can make it, I'll just schedule you in, and then whatever time we have available, I'll just continue on with Fall Brookline, because chances are I have far more photos than we will have time anyway. So we can just leave like that. That should work. So why don't I share my screen here and get started up. All right. Let me know if everybody can see this. You should be seeing a Zenith TL. That is, what better way to start a meeting than
Here we go. Perfect.
There we go.
An L600 from 1954. That is the first of the 600 series transoceanics. And that one is rare, and I'll tell you why. It's not, doesn't mean valuable, but it's rare. The very first ones that came out, you see how it has that gold inset where with the word wave magnet on it?
Yeah.
That's the broadcast band antenna. That's the only one of the 600 series they did that on. The later L600s did not have the paint on it. And I don't know if you have any more pictures of that or not, but the other thing that radio has that's not being visible, besides two missing knobs, is the log scale up on top. Instead of being like the rest of the individual bands in white, it's in red. And you can't see that because
I guess not.
Angle of the picture.
Yeah.
That's an early run 600 series transoceanic.
Interesting. And then if it looks, is that, I don't know if it's reflection, I can't remember now. Is that dark blue to me and not black?
It's black.
Is it black? Okay, maybe
it's
so.
Just the light, lack of light on it.
Yeah, this was taken probably, I took this probably about 6:30 in the morning. So, because people still setting up, and it was a chilly one that morning. So I usually try to get my pictures done before the vultures come in and take all the good stuff away, so I can't photograph them. So
I'm sure if you Googled it or something like that, and you really wanted to see the dial, you could probably find one.
Yeah.
I do not. I used to own one, but I traded as a radio collector. I traded for something else. So
I think this was
that's just kind of a cool radio.
Bucks. Can't beat that.
Yeah, it was a low price of $25, as I recall. I don't think it's the item number. I think that was the price.
Even with the missing knobs, and as long as all the tubes are in there, that's a steal, because the tubes alone are probably worth about $60-70 on a 600 series if they're good.
Yeah. I think this is
one L6.
I think
one L6, and even harder is there's that radio has a ballast tube, which is a 50A1, and they're even harder to find in a 1L6. And ironically, the ballast tube was there to protect the filament string. So now you've got a tube that's there for protection, and it costs more than the 1L6 in a lot of the cases because it's hard to find.
Interesting. Yeah, that was I can't remember whose table that was. It might have been Roger, because usually he's one of the first people I hit, because his table is right at the entrance. He's always positioned the same spot. And this on the flip side, here's we've seen it's one of those like circle of sound style radios from the early 70s, I'd say, judging from this late 60s, early 70s.
It's got all those slider controls on it.
Yeah. They're neat. They're actually attractive radios, and I've been
It's a good looking radio.
Yeah, and the speaker sits underneath like this, cone, like where I guess the circle of sound being its,
I think it's on like a rotating platform.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. Bunch of speakers. Well, I'm not sure to what, but you name it. You need speakers. There's an option. Here is. Let's see if I can get them.
Sky Buddy.
There you go, Sky Buddy. Neat little, I guess, small helicopters. Is that a Sky Buddy?
It's a helicopter Sky Buddy. That's probably a S20.
S19.
S19. That's right. I'm sorry. You're right, Carl.
Yeah, that's cool. Got to have a boom box. Somebody had something here. A Samsung. Classic, probably 80s, early 90s kind of box that was the rage back then. And here's a nice little RCA, a little portable. These are fairly commonly seen. I forget the model number, but this one's in decent shape.
I forget the model number on that too, but the on-off switch, if you look at see that
It's the
little
cover.
thing on top there with the flapper, that's actually the on-off switch.
Really?
Turn the radio on.
I think that's a 6-tube. They also made it in the 5-tube, and the tuning is those rollers on the sides of the dial.
So it's an
Cool.
AEX6. I'm just reading upside down.
That's
From
probably
1948, according to this. I think this is Rogers. They're asking $40 case. I don't know if it's sold, but that was, and Rogers always willing to talk.
Those are pretty good DX radios, by the way.
They're an attractive looking case, especially you get them, blemish
that
free.
aluminum look, is kind of cool.
Yeah. There's a bunch of variety of meters and so forth.
Super Cricket.
Super Cricket.
I haven't seen a Super Cricket in a long time.
Yeah, look at that.
What's that little Zenith box there? It's got a couple. Are those tubes, or it's got a couple of cables?
I think those are component replacement parts, factory replacement parts.
Those are modules for like modern TV sets. Usually.
So would that be like a little serviceman's case or something?
Yeah, or it could be, or it could be just a case that has them sitting in there. I don't know.
That's true.
But they are like replacement modules.
But interesting, it's got all partitions. That was kind of interesting.
Plug and pull.
But whatever, if they repurpose it, they did a nice job repurposing. But it looks almost dedicated, just judging by just a guess. Philco looks a weather weary. Needs a lot of love. This poor guy. A lot of love.
It's like the old cigarette commercial. A guy's talking to his dog and he says, "Hey, Fido, how do most cigarettes taste? Rough."
Exactly. Yeah, this poor guy it needs a lot of loving.
You know what? Without all kidding aside, when those radios are tuned up, that's got an RF stage in that radio, and those radios are good performers when they're working.
And the good side is the dial glass looks pretty good, no flaking.
Yeah, even the Philco decal managed to survive.
The decal's still there.
Yeah, that's remarkable. If you look how faded this, the
wood looks a little crumbly though, huh?
Yeah,
that's a great point, Paul, that you bring that up, because I've seen a lot of Philco dials that the reverse paint on them are just flaking off and just in really bad shape. That one's really nice.
Yeah. I guess minimally, I was going to say it'd be a good part set, but I mean, I guess the Ambitious could salvage this. I mean, it looks the handle is problematic, so you have to be able to find another handle. This thing is pretty rough. But I have no idea what they were asking for, but it's a basket case almost. Oh, what we got here? Let's see, a Crosley. Model 646. Oh yeah, and someone had actually put one of those up on Facebook for us to announce if someone was interested. They were up in Vermont or Northern New Hampshire, one of the two, I forget. But it was the exact model. He sent me a picture. I had to go hunt it down and figure it out. I said, "Well, I think it's a 646." Sure enough, I know it's the same guy, but actually a nice little dial face on this.
Pretty deco cabinet too.
Yeah, I mean, other than missing a knob, it looks pretty. It's all there, and generally we struggled. Even the grill cloth isn't awful. I mean,
as long as the chassis looks good, I think for $30, that's well worth taking a chance.
I think it's missing the shaft because the knob wouldn't fit into the cabinet down.
Yeah,
it's the shaft is broken or something happened in there.
Good point.
So $30 might be a good price,
but
if you
$30 worth of aggravation.
Yeah, well, good for the Ambitious. There's a lot more portable sets here. You got Motorola.
Kind of funky.
I think Emerson. Zenith here. Yeah, some neat sets. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost dead sure this is Roger's table. Yeah, here we go. Nice little Emerson from 1952. That's actually a pretty early one. I assume this is this is transistor, solid state, not a tube radio.
It's probably one in 4-tube battery portables.
No, he's got
Okay.
a note on there. Model 704, 4 tubes.
Doesn't power.
Oh yeah, it
Four
says 4
tube. Yeah,
tubes on it.
you got it.
Caution,
Bob.
dial fragile.
There you go. 35
Buyer
bucks.
beware.
I had one because 52 is a bit early for solid state, so I guess that makes sense.
It almost looks like the RCA portables of the time. I had one of these. That is a Revere radio.
Yeah,
And
it's unusual.
It's really a cool radio. That's a 4-tube portable, but it's kind of almost looks like an old binocular case.
Yeah, from 1955.
And
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at my head.
There's actually a website. There's a website that talks about it, and the total production of that radio is it's like maybe a little over 1,000.
Wow.
So it's something you don't see too many of. But I had one, and I got it broken, and I got it working, and I sold it for a pretty penny. I was going to keep it, but I sold it, and it's really nice little radio.
Yeah, it's unusual. Because Roger was showing it to me, he goes, "Yeah, this is pretty uncommon." And you can see, I mean, it's not, it's an okay shape, and you can see that the handles, the strap is obviously a bit haggard, but the rest of it is actually not too bad. It's certainly interesting. Glad I grabbed a shot of it. Oh, a little Zenith, little AM, little guy, probably the mid-50s, I'd say. Maybe even says 19. It's hard to tell. I think it's 20 bucks.
51, 50 something.
Yes.
I think that's probably mid to late 50s.
50.
That might be a 7.
Might be a 7. Yeah, that's right. Just judging from that, he's asking
So
20
you
bucks. It's pretty
You can get a
reasonable.
57 Chevy, but you can get a 57 Zenith for 20 bucks.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But yeah, kind of, nice. It was all there. Seemed more than reasonable for 20 bucks. This I thought was interesting. Had this.
That's the 3-bander.
Yeah, the RCA, the 3-band.
It's got the early FM on it.
I liked that. I thought it was intriguing. I don't think, and I know that Roger said it wasn't working completely. In fact, I can sort of hone in. Yeah, it's a Zenith. Let's get just a little closer here. An H8H832 from 48. Says hums but works. So obviously needs filter caps and so forth, right? I forgot what he was asking for, but it was pretty reasonable. It's just, I was like, I better not, but you can see even the case is in pretty good shape, certainly salvageable. And yeah, sure, it needs a grill cloth, but it's actually.
You change out that grill cloth. That probably is a very different looking set just from that, maybe little Howards.
I think it had some problems with the switches were a little bit.
Those old kind of like radio organ knobs. Yeah, those
Yeah,
things.
They were a little bit, I think they might have had some problems as I recall, but still, certainly.
You can make them functional. It takes a little bit of work. I've made them work.
Yeah.
But I've never owned this particular model. It's just kind of big.
Yeah, it is.
It
It's about a good, 15-inch height. It's no small radio. It's got some heft.
But from the looks of the grill cloth, it looks like it has 2 speakers.
Agreed. I'm thinking the same. So probably has nice sound. It's
probably sounds really good.
It probably would be neat with the dial lit. It's probably a nice looking radio lit up at night. So
yeah, it'd be eye candy.
Yeah, it was tempting. I did stare at it for a bit. I said, better not. I just got a little close up of the dial face, but you can see it even has FM on the Stushin here. So I thought that was, because FM was in its early days of adoption, the new band, I should say. Oh, it's just a close up, but the picture didn't come out that well, so we don't actually learn anything better than we did before. So sorry about that. Here's a little Emerson AM FM, case is pretty, it would be a great radio, except if this would be a big job for somebody to try and correct.
Someone slid the tag under the radio. It just says that the case will buff out.
Yeah, that's right. Just a scratch.
Probably something the seller wrote on there.
Comes with a
Yeah.
can of Bond.
It comes with a can of Bondo.
Well, I could, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, maybe Bondo's.
Oh, Paul, that's funny.
But yeah, I'm still, it is salvageable if you just, it takes more for the ambitious.
Hey, there
person.
are people who do that
You know,
Bakelite.
I have refinished
and
old Bakelite
God bless
cases that were cracked like that. And if you're good with Bondo and some paint, you could probably make that look really nice.
Yeah,
So it's probably nothing
Bondo it up
I
and
know we're
spray it.
joking around, but it's probably a very restorable piece.
yeah, I would agree. This is a GE 409. I was half tempted because I really like these radios. I have a couple of 408s, but the knob is in really, this is really good shape. It's these fade, or they don't always. This one looks in pretty good shape. But I love it because it reminds me, this is the classic look of like, an early to mid 50s speedometer on cars. It just, I love the bright light. It just, it's such a, it is eye candy when it's lit up. It's nice and bright. It's really has nice
It looks like part of a dashboard on an early 50s car. It's really cool looking.
Exactly. I have a couple at home that are in progress of being looked at. I haven't started it, but I've got a couple. I have 408, so 1 year earlier, I think it was from 49 or 50. This was probably 51 or 2. Zenith needing some love here. AM, FM.
Knobs and love.
Missing that, but looks like paint, hoop.
Someone left it parked in a bad neighborhood and they jacked it up and stole the knobs.
Yeah, they found it on the Major Dean Expressway.
They're on their way to the airport, and then all of a sudden the car broke down. Oh, geez.
Exactly. They pull off to the radio, pull off to the side, and look what happens. Sitting up on blocks, and that's what's left.
That's what's left. Well, that's a 2-bander, by the way. They made them in 3-banders too with the early FM.
Yeah.
I can't remember the number. 7H something is or 7 or 8H.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some guys from Camden did it because it was a Zenith.
Probably.
Yeah.
All those Zenith haters, working RCA people. What is that?
This is a Regina
Former?
Yeah.
Browning Drake.
I think that's a Browning Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Wow.
This was, I think
Great
this
shape if that hasn't been touched up or.
Yeah. When we look at the looks in really solid condition.
It's in exceptional condition.
And it doesn't look necessarily like it was a recent restore. I mean, it could be a new cabinet. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's a new cabinet. That's
because it kind of does
really
look like it. It looks too good.
Yeah.
Here we go. I don't know if that means anything. It's REZ cabinet. I wonder if that is a separate cabinet. It looks kind of modern. But
well, you know what? What's interesting, John? That looks like a stick-on sticker. Which you wouldn't have seen in the 20s, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
That hinge looks pretty new too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although missing a screw. Yeah. I still, you know what? It's still past muster, like at first glance.
Oh yeah.
If
that's your bag, I mean, that's
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how many tubes went in. I don't see any tubes, but I'm wondering how
I
many
might have
tubes
gotten
went
a I might have gotten a top shot. Let's see on the next file. I forget now. After you take so many pictures, you forget what you did.
I think there were 4 tubes.
Oh, there they are. 5 of them. Okay.
5, yep.
It's got a nice size transformer in there too for the audio.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
That is really nice.
Yeah, it's a neat radio. And if I
don't, albeit it may not be original, but it really is just, it's a looker. It's really neat.
I'm just looking to coming in on the sticker on the third.
Wouldn't it have had the square bus wire?
Neat stuff. might have been Roger's table, I think. Oh, I just, for some reason, I decided to grab this, so I remembered it because I wasn't sure how well it was going to come out. So I just grabbed a quick, as close to shot as you're going to find, plus some dials. I think it tells me. I think the problem is that the information is behind this, so I can't even tell you what Roger was asking for it.
I like the loud and soft phone jacks after the first and second audio.
There's a Super Cricket.
There you go, and a close-up, no less. Took a test, yeah.
I couldn't afford one of these, but I had a buddy that had one. So when I needed to check my transistors in the old days, I used to call them up and then go over there and test them out. They were really cool. I just couldn't afford one. I didn't have the money. I'm a big fan of Sencor Instruments. I love their tube testers.
Yeah.
That's who makes the Super Cricket.
This looks to be in pretty good nick.
Yeah, it's pretty decent shape.
Oh, there's adjacent nearby is this Zenith all transistor.
Royal 2000.
Yeah, no, it's asking $20 if I see it's from 1961. Exactly, Royal 2000.
It's like
I have a near mint version of that radio, and I completely recapped it with all the little 4.7 and 10 microfarad caps, selector links in there. And man, it sounds great. The really early transistors just have that almost a tube sound to it. It's that good.
Out of curiosity, and I was looking at, so how does the dial pointers work on these? Because I see that circular, I was just trying to see how does this work?
It said the dials are inside.
There you're right. There you go. Good catch. Yep, that would explain it. Because I'm saying, So I assume it had needles that just did the sweep.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. That almost sounds like that's something people steal.
Well, there we go. Just like that other Zenith, they pull off to the side. People strip it, the things they want.
There's a second one behind this one. It's missing the handle.
Yep. I think Roger had mentioned to me, he had a lot of projects, that he didn't restore. He said, you know what, I just want to get to move these. So it's usually most of Roger's radios are restored. And they're good to go and nothing you have to do. And I think he was sort of having I don't want to bother with a sale, kind of thing.
You see that little transistor tester, the Super Cricket?
Yeah.
Those things are really good.
Yeah, that's Bob seems to be singing the praises.
Yep, I have one that it works fantastic.
You're a knowledgeable man, Rob. I love all the Sencor stuff that's made by Sencor.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And this rare vintage beach chair in the background for extremely large amounts of money. There we go. It's a little the Fisher FM amp.
Well, it looks like it's an FM only receiver.
Yeah, and $65.
That's about the ballpark number.
That's one of the first generation solid state ones after the like the 400, 500 and 800 tube ones. And they go for some good money, believe it or not. There's a big following in Asia for those. Some of those solid state ones also have a tunomatic on it, where it would be over here and it's preset tuning. There's about 6 stations.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, it's they made a whole bunch of those different with different like some were AM, FM, but they actually go for a lot of money, which shocks me. But there's no accounting for taste.
Is that a tuner amplifier?
What's that?
Is that a tuner amplifier or just a tuner?
I think so, because it looks like it has functions for tape.
It's got an amplifier, Rob.
Yeah, it's an amp. Yes, I thought it was an amp myself when I.
Phono.
Yeah, it's got tape.
I had a coworker that had one of these, and I actually went through it for him that's a long time ago, probably about 15, 16 years ago. I just ended up recapping it and doing an alignment on it, and the thing was just magnificent when I got it done. He was happy as hell. He got me a case of my favorite dark beer.
That's
So
That's a good,
deal.
that's a good
that sounds like
price.
a good
That-
trade for you.
that's almost better than money.
That's pretty good.
You and Yogi.
Up, here's Sparks. We had a particularly good and busy pre-table. And I joked with him on the video. I said, Sparks, so I saw him inside the building. I said, Sparks, what are you doing in here? Because I expect you to be standing outside hovering around the free table. Because he pulled all sorts of stuff, away that people gave away some good stuff this time around. I think even the item I put on something that was a little bit, I put a couple items on there and they disappeared very quickly. Yeah, not wearing anything exciting. But you know what it is, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So it was very popular. I couldn't resist the picture because it was pretty much the person that hovered around that the most. There's Howard and Roger also doing, you see all sorts of stuff there. There was even a drill. So people do have a sort of stretchy idea of what vintage
You know
electronics
what?
might be.
That looks like a nice Black & Decker drill.
Yeah, and for all we know, it works. And they said, let's get it like
I have one of those.
And
it
you know
won't
what?
die.
I don't think
It's great.
there was very little left over. I'm pretty
They
sure
made them
someone
in
grabbed it.
Towson, Maryland.
But there are records. Oh, I was really tempted, but I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It's Ross had in fact, Tom had alerted me to it as well. I had a bunch of dial faces from German consoles. And some of the dial faces were a bit scratched up and all that, but there are all these runs from, consoles, not tabletops. It must have been about 8 or 10. And in fact, I stopped Ross, at his table, and I said, that had to be from you. The only person I know that would be dropping off, German dial faces from like various makes, Grundig, Saba and so forth. Because, yep, that was me. I have all these basket cases in my barn. I need to get some of the stuff out. So, but if I would agree, I looked through them all to see if I could use any, but none to be had for me. More hovering around the free table. That's Howard, and there's Jim, of course, Sparks. He's in there, and I can tell you, it's a lot of activity. There was also stuff thrown in there. This is different times during the day, so people just coming over and just dropping stuff on the table and moving on, and then the seagulls come in, flapping their wings, to go grab stuff and fly away.
Of course,
Like
everything
going
you
to the beach and having a seagull
buy
buy a French fry out of your box,
Just about, we haven't. I don't think I've seen any, fights where someone grabbing onto a radio part or something and fighting over it.
Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of philosophical, mental things going on. Like, they pick up an object or a thing, and they're like, I don't know, should I really bring this home? Yeah, all right.
Especially when it's like when there's a whole radio and the tubes are in there, it's gone, because at that point someone's just going to do something with it. They just pull the tubes and discard the rest.
Look at it.
But back to it's John Weatherall's table here. He had a bunch of various transistor radios of different types. He had this interesting Polaroid camera, which I thought was really intriguing because it just sort of sits out there. I couldn't resist taking a photo because you don't see these things all that often. And it's a land camera, I think it says.
Polaroid land camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just neat. I saw it, I said, well, that's photo worthy. It's not, you see.
I think that's an older one too. I remember having an uncle that had one, and he was like really proud of the thing. And I was just a squirt, man. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old, and he would be taking pictures of everything. And by the time he got done, he probably burned $100 bill with all the film they put into that thing, because they had that self-developing film.
They all came out with that. They all came out with that streaky look.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Only if you didn't.
That's a
use
nice
that little
national
one problem.
transceiver in the back, NCX5. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that, an NCX5?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on John's table. It looks to be in really nice shape too.
The radio on the right, lower right, is an aircraft radio. It's
Yeah.
called VOR, Virtual Omni Range. And it is the device that we all used for, I'd say, from the 1960s through the 1990s to guide our flight. This one gives you left and right indication with that vertical white indicator. The frequency of the station you're tuned to is in the bottom there, the digital frequency. And the dial that can be rotated gives you the azimuth reading to the station. So you can actually fly directly to or away from one of these Omni stations. And there were lots of them all over the country, about every 50 miles or so, maybe 100 miles, no, 50 miles, you'd find one. And you could use those to navigate almost any place you wanted. They show up all the time at tables. They used to cost unbelievable amounts of money, and now you can usually get them for $10.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and in fact, there's have been, and this one was 15, so pretty close.
I knew that looked familiar because my father had a really old Cessna tail dragger, and someone gave him that radio.
I bet he was happy. I bet he was.
Thank you for enlightening me on it, because I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was a radio, but now I know, and now I know why my late father made a big deal out of that. So thank you for that. I actually have a propeller in the basement off of this plane. It's a wooden propeller, and part of it's broken off. I think it's called a Sensenreich or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not an airplane person.
Right.
But my wife made me hold on to it after my father died, and I was going to put a clock in it or whatever. I never got to it.
Yeah.
Neat. Or not the best photo, but a bunch of solid state stuff, that walkie-talkie and other variety of items. Oh yeah, this is John's. He had a couple of these TVs. He's, I think it's Motorola's, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Motorola. He had two of these, and you know, to quote John roughly, he said, he had two of them. He said, yeah, these are meant to be portable. He goes, yeah, it's like putting a handle on a Mack truck and calling it portable, basically. But yeah, he was delighted because he had them at Spring Brookline, and he sold them. So he was absolutely delighted that they moved, and now they have new owners. They were in good shape. They looked all complete, and I don't know if they work, but I know he said they worked at one point. But so,
yeah, those are electrostatic TVs, 7-inch CRTs, and it's rare to have the antenna and the antenna.
Hey Joe, how you doing? So
yeah,
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, thank you. Got my COVID booster the other day and slept yesterday, and today I'm back to myself. So how's the move going?
Hey, Carl. Sorry, but we'll have to. Carl, oh, there we go. Thanks, Carl. It's just trying to mute you there. Oops, hold on here. Let me just 1 second, folks.
Oh boy.
1 second, folks. Let me just try to fix this here. Okay, now I'm just resume sharing here. All right, folks. And here is this. I'm not sure who makes this.
I think that's a Philco.
It is. You got it. There it is.
Yeah, that looks familiar.
1203.
Good call. In okay shape. I mean, it looks restorable. I mean, it's this. I assume this is wood. What kind of cabinet is this? Wood?
Yeah, it looks it.
Yeah. So this would be easier to salvage in that regard, because the thing is, it's just paint, it's not stained, or it's a really dark stain. almost black, almost, or very dark brown. But actually, yeah, this is better color representation, I guess. Staying, it's a dark brown with the lighting conditions. Things look darker than they really be. But yeah, I mean,
Well, it could have been in a smoker's environment too, and that would just darken it even more.
Yeah.
yeah, but it looks complete, albeit just a little tired. But that's
Very
mostly.
restorable.
But yeah, I don't know how much they were asking now. Here we go, with range of microphones and some interesting crystal sets here. I think I got some better photos later, so I'll sort of defer on these pieces because I think I did get some close-ups there. But
like that tungsol toolbox there, huh? Open
yeah,
up.
I think I have a better shot of that as well. Yeah. Oh, here's the Zenith.
G503 from 1950. That's a 5-tuber, and it's got the 1L6, or at least it's supposed to have it. I have that radio. It's a really outstanding little radio.
Neat, in pretty decent shape, I would say.
They also made a 4-tube version of it. It's the 4G903, and it's literally the same radio, except it's a 4-tuber.
It's hard to find them without 2 cracks on the dial face, because when they slam,
even the one I have, Greg, has got 2 small cracks, kind of in the location where the knobs are.
Yeah,
But they're present, and it's really a common occurrence to see those cracks.
Yeah, I think these are definite cracks here.
Because that lid is also, it acts as the on-off switch as well.
Yeah.
So when you flip the thing up, there's actually a switch on one side of the swivel off for this thing, and it turns it on and off.
Yeah, plastics back then, they were good, but they were much more prone to getting brittle and for dealing with impacts.
I would imagine the dial cord on that thing must be a nightmare to deal with.
Oh, you don't know. I had to do mine, and I was, boy, I tell you, I was swearing like a sailor doing that.
well, I have a lot of head scratching just to figure out how to get it out of the cabinet, because you have to tilt that lid just a certain way to slide the chassis out.
To get that out of the cabinet is, once you unbolt it from the wooden box itself, you have to take where the numerical display is, you have to take that and flip it on a 90-degree angle, and then the whole thing pulls straight out.
Straight out the hole, yeah. And the whole cabinet is covered in Tolex.
Yes.
Bearcat scanner.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a my dad had a Bearcat scanner from probably I don't know, it's like early mid-70s. I'd love to get that. Yeah, it may do this on this one. It would, when you turn it on and it was scanning, the lights went sequentially across. It just continued doing this continual flash across the dial face. I found it a likable feature as a kid. I thought that was pretty cool. And we just pick up local police bands and fire bands, whatever what was going on. So my father had that. I don't know whatever happened, but I kind of wish we still had it. It was a terrific little unit.
They're going remarkably cheap right now, and I think that's because it's a crystal controlled radio. And who knows? They get one of these things and pull the crystals out, and then you buy it, and then there's no crystals in it. So how do you know if it works?
I remember because my dad would insert. He bought a crystal that was equivalent for like one of the CD channels as well, because he had enough. I think it was like 10 or 12 channels. I forgot how many it had, but thereabouts, at least 8. And he stuck one in there. So I remember he would buy the crystals for it. So it was actually, neat. And then let's see, what do we have down here? Let me show what. Oh, here we go. It is a. Oh.
That's the Heathquit equivalent to a Hal Crafter's S120, and you could get them assembled or in kits. I know that my late uncle, while he was in high school, bought one of these things and put it together, and he ended up, after he got married, ended up passing it off to me, and I lost it somewhere in a move. I don't know what happened to it. It's an okay radio. It's not a great radio, but it's kind of nice looking.
Yeah.
I had one of those. My sister confiscated it and I never saw it again.
Yeah, my
Oh,
sister did that to me too with a couple of things, including my
Yeah.
79 Trans Am that I cherished. And then I saw her 2 years later and the thing was totally trashed. And I wanted to cry.
boy. Well, that'd be a little
So
bit
sisters
annoying.
have a way of doing that.
That's truly annoying. 79 was the first year of the split headlight.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
There we go. I got a VHS,
Panasonic.
Panasonic. Looks mostly there. Look at these big dial, twists and so forth. Looks solid.
Top loader.
Probably wouldn't surprise me if it mostly works, but
Boy, that's an old one too.
Yeah.
yeah.
When I first saw that, I thought it was a beta machine, but it is a VHS.
Yeah, but this is wouldn't surprise me. This is like early to mid 70s. I think VHS came out around mid 70s.
Well,
So-
Beta actually came out first. Beta was
Yes.
actually invented by Sony.
Right.
It was
Right.
really a better format than VHS, but from a consumer standpoint, the VHS was more popular because they could do like 3 hours on a tape, and the Beta, I think, can only do like an hour or 90 minutes or something like that.
Right.
I had a Sanyo Beta machine. That was my first machine. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and I remember my father debating on that because he was talking to his cousin, who I speak to regularly, that was giving him the pros and cons. We were discussing pros and cons because it was Beta versus VHS, in the mid 70s or so. And
Wasn't the idea one was a rotating head and one was just the head going the tape going past the head? Did the Beta use a rotating head?
I'm not really sure.
not sure.
I know there was some back many, many years ago when I was doing some work at what is now the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. We were putting in a whole bunch of audio visual stuff. And I remember for the first time seeing these video playback machines that had this huge head that rotated, and it really rotated fast. And so what happened is that it's equivalent to speeding the tape up over the head. And so they would get more time out of the tape, but to get a good picture quality.
Oh, maybe true. I'm not sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
I always get some interesting factoid in these meetings. Here's an Admiral record player and video.
Oh, it's got a built-in radio.
Yeah. It's a nice little AM. It's got all the civil defense markers and actually
45s.
mostly
Got a
there.
45 spindle there.
Yeah, it looks like it's mostly there. It looked like a pretty complete system. It's kind of interesting.
Big piece of Bakelite.
Yeah.
You know
This
the
was,
problem. Oh yeah, good old Zenith.
I don't think. Oh, you know what? This might have been. No, it's not. This is a different one. I almost want to say it's stupid. No, it's not. Bob, you were correct.
This is an H500 transoceanic, and Zenith made more of this model than any other tube transoceanic that was ever made. They made these from 51 to 53. It's in the millions. I know that. I don't remember what the numbers were. I think they had quantities, manufacturing quantities in the Bryan and Cohn's transoceanic book. And I think it's the most attractive out of the bunch with the gold surround on the dial and on the band switches and everything. I have one, and my late uncle had one when I was a kid. I was like 9 years old, and we'd get together over my grandmother's house. My parents would play pinochle with other relatives, and I would just grab my late uncle's transoceanic that he bought in Korea, and I would just go to my grandma's sun porch and just listen to shortwave for hours on a Sunday afternoon. And I just have really good fond memories of that. And these are
Sure.
great radios. Don't, I mean, yeah, they can't get sideband or, do some of the things that modern radios do. I mean, I've really good receivers. I have ICOM and I've got Yaesu, really high-end receivers. This can't do it, but for the radio this time, it's a very, very good radio. I love them to death.
I can imagine what it would cost to make them today.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I don't have the inflation calculator in front of me, but that radio in front of you was $129 in 1951. So do the math, it's
So-
probably, today's money, probably about $1,400. That would be a guess,
Yeah, I believe
When
it.
you can buy a new Chevy for $1,600.
Yeah. True.
So there you go, with a 6-cylinder. They didn't have V8s till 55.
So I had that blue flame 6,
I'll tell you, that 235 was a heck of a motor.
bulletproof. Really was bulletproof. Most of them, you think of all the,
216 was a Babbitt killer, but the 235 was the motor to have.
yeah. Like that's what I used the first Corvette, and they just do a couple of carbs on it. That was,
Yeah, it had 3 carburetors on that motor. It was a hot little car.
yeah, absolutely.
Bob, did you say that one
Sure.
for $130 back in 51? That
Yes.
radio? I just did the inflation calculator,
And
1951, if you paid $130 for something, today it would be $1,484.
I was close.
Yikes.
Yes.
Approximately 1,041.6% increase.
Wow. Wow.
Approximately.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. There's a nice little Motorola from 1958, I think. I'm reading
It's
it.
a later one. Yeah. It's cute.
Yeah,
I like the chrome surround on the dial. It's really kind of
Yeah.
gives it a little sex appeal.
gives a little bling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A little bling. No, it's nice looking radio. It's funny how it picks up the reflection off of the
Off the
thing, 'cause you
table.
think- Because you think it's,
Yeah.
but it really isn't, it's just it's look like some sort of designer painted dial face or something. Oh, he's a Crosley.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
He's in shape. Got some minor nicks that could be repainted if you wanted a more perfect setup.
With handle.
Yes, indeed.
If you have the right color lacquer, you could blend that in and make it look just fine. I had a friend that worked, a guy I went to high school with. He was a year older than me, and he ended up working in a GM plant as a painter. And he actually taught me how to really just with rattle can lacquer that you could buy from the store, and how to make it look really, really good. And I actually did a couple radios with his tutelage, and it came out pretty nice. So I wouldn't mind having that and just going over that paint. It'd probably look really cool.
Yeah, because it's
Especially with the lucite handle on top.
Yeah. Even as is, it's not awful, the condition. It looks like but certainly it would deserve, as you get close, you can see all the nicks and so forth. So it really could use more of a cleanup, but wouldn't look awful if you didn't touch it. But I agree. Little clever rattle can, and maybe you get yourself a pretty nifty piece.
Well, what you could do is, if you want to just take like a really fine brush and touch up all the dots, and then take something like 2500 grit paper and kind of blend all that in, and then polish it like with not too abrasive car polish, something that was equivalent to back in the day, when your old man's out in the driveway with the Ford, he gets the DuPont number 7 and really cleans things up. You can get a nice wax and it would blend that in real nice.
Oh, sure. A little polishing compound or whatever. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. What we got here? Let's see. I'm trying to think. What is this?
That is probably, I want to say General Electric, but I'm not 100%. Oh, yeah. You know what? That is a GE. What does it say on the thing? Oh, automatic. Okay.
It's an
It was probably made by
automatic radio.
GE. It's probably made by GE because GE had a clock radio that looked a little like that.
Interesting.
The same position with the dial on top and the clock and the knob. It's those weird kind of circular holes there. That's
Yeah.
scary.
Is
Yeah.
that a Telcron clock? Or
I
what do you
think
call it?
so.
Telecron? I
Yeah.
think so.
It looks like I'm looking for the
Yeah, it is.
classic
I think I
signature.
could see it. It says
There
Telecron
it is.
movement. I
Yeah,
think.
it is. I could see the movement. Yep. You just read the glare, but I'm quite sure we're right. Yeah. There's no question it's a Telecron.
You know what that grill says to a little kid? Put your finger in.
Yeah. Or stick a pencil in there.
Poke a hole in the cone.
Exactly. That's just screaming for damage for my little kid.
I guess they haven't matured as rapidly as most here.
Yeah.
Give me a sharp object.
Oh, yeah, little kids. Let's see, what do we got here? This is something electronic. Electronic? Oh, it says electronic. Is that really what it's called? Works on all the time? I have no idea. I know nothing about this. I have no idea. But there it
I wonder
is.
if that's one of those radio school radios that you can here join our school and build this radio and learn how to fix radios.
Maybe.
The case is kind of cool with that little step look, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty attractive. Like that's why it was like it was certainly photo worthy, right? And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna take a photo of it.
On all the time. Maybe the control is broken. It just
Yeah.
goes on.
The on-off switch is probably gone.
Yeah. Well, neat. It was neat. And certainly not, certainly attractive enough radio. Motorola, another one.
Yes.
Bad shape.
I wonder if they were trying to copy Zenith or Zenith was trying to copy Motorola
Yeah,
Yeah.
very similar.
with that big
Absolutely.
airplane dial in the center.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. There's a bunch of Motorola's at this.
That one's nice. I like the yellow with the chrome.
58, $20.
Jeez,
Decent shape.
it's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. There's a DeWalt. I thought it was actually a nice looking radio. It's actually, the case is really nice shape. Attractive radio too. It's got I think this is the Telecron as well. No, maybe not. Oh, yeah, it is. Yep.
Telecron movement.
Nice little,
Got a little paint loss on the face though. It looks like the paint's peeling off of the front of that
oh yeah.
right a little bit.
Asking $20 from 52.
$20 bill,
Probably
it's worth it.
Vancouver, though, The case is
enough.
pretty cheap. I don't see
You guys
any.
got some great deals on radios.
Yeah, there were some actually really good deals. It's more your discipline not to buy.
This is great for like an entry level collector, or if you have a nephew or godson or goddaughter that gets interested in this thing. Oh, that'd be the ticket there.
Well, it's an attractive little radio. It's got a little clock. And Telecrons are pretty reliable units. You have to do any work on it.
I don't know if you saw my last video, but I found a GE clock in an auction. It had a placard on the top, and the placard said replica of the 1 millionth radio. And that had a Telecron movement clock in the thing. I did nothing. I found instructions on the web on how to service it, but I did nothing to it. And I just put it into my Variac. I got the thing up to 105 volts and the clock just started working.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess I ain't got to do anything with that. So
yeah, they're quiet.
They're very good clocks.
Yeah, they are quiet and generally reliable. Yeah, I thought it was a nifty little radio for $20. I mean, and also you don't see DeWalt that often. So if you want to be one of the few kids in the block or something like, uncommon.
Yes.
They're a Midwest company.
Yeah. Here, what do we got here? We got a
Gruno.
Now,
Who knows? Yeah.
oh, yeah. Actually, a decent shape. Reasonably, quite a reasonable shape. You know, that was there. I don't know what they were asking, unfortunately. What we got here?
that looks like an Emerson.
It is?
Let's see. Is there a? Yeah,
Glass.
give the man a cigar. Yes, yes. Nice looking, nice, actually attractive radio. Not in bad shape either. You know, cabinet's not in bad shape. You could almost perhaps do a little bit of Howard's on it, maybe even not have to go too aggressive and be happy enough.
Funny thing is, I know somebody that was looking for one of these. Was there a price tag on that?
Let's see what we got. $35.
Oh my God, that's a steal for that.
1935 Emerson.
Those are fairly common knobs. Those knobs.
Yeah, Emerson, the knobs, hundreds of different styles and cases, but a lot of the knobs are pretty interchangeable.
Yep.
I have a 1941 Emerson, has those same knobs. The Big Six. It's a Emerson 414. I don't know why they said Big Six. It's not I think they were just trying to compete with the larger tube count sets. I mean, it's okay.
Is that a video dial radio?
Yes. There's a decal on there. I can't see what it's.
Teletone.
Teletone made that TV, and Firestone also used that same cabinet for the same TV, but under the Firestone name.
Oh.
It's a
Tom, is that literally a TS 520?
No, that's like half the size.
So it's a smaller version of that.
Yeah, but it's like
Okay.
half the size. It's like a 7-inch tube in that. Or
Okay.
1949, 1948.
Yeah.
Strike that. 100,
Years,
150.
Years ago, you could go to your even your local furniture store or TV shop, and they would rent you that TV. More of those TVs went to hospitals than any other TV made.
Interesting.
Didn't know that.
Yep.
Interesting.
You could rent that thing by the week, and if you had somebody in the hospital, and you could bring that thing in, and they could tune in the TV and watch their TV programs.
You couldn't even see the judge's bicep on that screen.
Yeah. Well, I guess when they rolled it, they brought it in. They're bringing in a gurney into the TV room.
Be a heck of a lot smaller than bringing in a whole console, that's for sure.
Plus, you'd have to use the bed frame as an antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would work.
There you go.
that also uses RCA knobs. Teletone decided to make it easy.
Pair of speakers. I'm not sure what maker, but
They're large.
They are large.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a Sensui.
They're nice with those speakers.
Not sure with this one with the speakers, but I think there's something behind this. I just forget now.
They made pretty good stuff.
Yeah. Here's like this little portable GE record player with twin speakers all fold up into a little portable system. Looks all there and looks in pretty decent shape. Oh, one of those classic Zeniths that you almost invariably see at an event.
Listening to one sound.
Sorry?
Dude, they made so many of these.
Yeah, made a ton of
They're
them.
good little radios, though. I mean, for what they are, they really and they sound decent.
On me.
They sound bigger than they are.
Has the civil defense symbols on it also.
Oh yeah.
That little Zenith dot at the
Uh,
100.
But the Zenith tag is still there, which often
They
disappear.
used the American 5, didn't they? Pretty
They
much.
were either a 7 or 8 tube. I forget. I think it's a 7. That's a 7 tuber.
Okay. Oh, it has FM, yes.
Yeah, he's got the modern FM band.
Yeah.
There. The case is in pretty good shape. He's got a little bit of damage, but not serious. You could probably even polish it out.
That dial pointer is also pot metal, and sometimes you see them kind of not so good a condition. That one looks really perfect.
Yeah, it's in great shape. I don't see any.
That's actually, overall, despite that little blemish on top, or that crack that's repaired, or whatever that is, that's in really nice condition.
It is. If you buff it, if you just did a lot of plastic polish and buffed it, you might be happy enough to accept this as it may not blend in better and call it a day. Oh, this was a Bogan.
Project.
Bogan amp. The guy was selling. Look at the size of this transfer. That's
Which model is that? Because those are valuable, but it looks like
he had all the tubes. He just took them out. He had them all there.
Okay.
You just left the park in a bad neighborhood, and someone took all the tubes.
It looks like someone there's holes on. Are those tube sockets on top of the chassis or in the back?
I'm curious to see. Oh, where are they? Oh, the 6L6 is in that.
That's a very expensive amp. Very expensive. Those, I know someone who has a pair of those, and they sell for like $400 each. If they're they're very expensive. But it looks like one of those things is not a tube socket, but a hole. I can't tell because it's not.
You mean this one here?
Yeah, it looks
I
like.
don't know.
I don't
that's
know
a hole. That's just a hole. It doesn't look like anything was.
Well, there's no tube number next to it, so it probably was a modification on the chassis for the manufacturer.
That's a very expensive amp, and Bogan, I think, was really known. I always felt for more PA system type stuff, but this one the audiophiles like, and that's.
There were a couple of Bogans at the show. This guy was selling, and he just said, "I just took all the tubes off. I have them all. I just wanted to make sure there's no damage or anything on transport." So he just had it there. Looks pretty solid condition, all things considered. The knobs will clean up easily enough.
It came with a gold covered cage because that's, you see the pilot light. Normally it would be hidden underneath the cage.
Yes, I remember seeing the cage. Come to think of it, John. Yeah,
that's a nice piece of gear.
There's a more front there. You got the bass treble.
Yeah, I can see it says DB 20 or something under that, not one of those knobs.
Oh yeah.
It's a loudness contour.
Yeah,
it's a DB. Most of it's David Bogan or DB, and then the model number.
Right, and CB2. I don't know if there's something else beyond that because the angle of the shot. I think it's my. I don't think I have any more shots at this point, but you can't spread it.
It's a nice amp.
More modern television. From probably 80s, 90s.
Yep.
Well, this was a little bit interesting. This
DF unit.
Yeah.
Pierce Simpson.
It's a Marine DF system.
Yeah. And this. Oh, sorry.
Oh my goodness!
Look at all these. There's a guy he bought this collection from somebody. As I was talking to the gentleman, and he had a ton. I have better pictures, but more close-ups. But he had some of these look like they never were used or practically brand new. He restored a bunch of them, and a few of them had been. I think the upper row was not restored yet. But okay. Oh, you'll get better photos to follow. But yeah, beautiful Venus galore.
Just a bunch of allies and Royal 500s of various vintages. the ones that you see there with the oval speakers,
Yeah.
I have all three colors of those. And that little oval speaker was actually made by Jensen. And
really?
it's probably the best sounding shirt pocket radio you'll ever find. And they're great DX radios. The black one that I have, I used to, when I was still working and traveling all over the place, I used to bring that with me all over and sit in my hotel room at night with a beer and just sit there in DX.
Sure.
I gotta tell you guys, going back to that Pierce Simpson, I have a couple of those Marine RDS. You know what they're really good for?
Yeah.
If you have a noisy street lamp or pole somewhere that's got a leaky insulator, well, you can take it and move it around the neighborhood, and you can get a bearing right exactly where that noisemaker is. Then you can call the electric light company or, the power company and tell them, the street light on pole 22 on Adams Street is noisy, and they'll come down and fix it.
Good to know.
Rob, I don't know how long ago you took your hammer exam. I still want to get my extra. I'm a general right now, but that question is on one of the exams. I forget which test it is, but on one of the exams, it says, what do you do if you have a noise that you want to try to find? And they have multiple guesses, and the correct answer would be to take a transistorized radio and preferably with a direction finder and then hunt it down that way.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny you mentioned that, and you're also a ham.
Oh, I've done that when I operated on 160 meters a lot. I mean, I would pick up those darn lights quarter to a half a mile away.
Yeah, I've got a lot of noise around here myself, probably up to as high as probably partially into the 80 meter band. It's real noisy from about 1800 KC to about, I'll say about 3550 around here, and there's nothing I can do about it. The only thing the electric company worries about is if your stuff is working, or do you have your electric? That's all they care about around here.
I know, but they do have a guy that works for them that will actually come down with instruments and find the source and report it, and somebody will eventually fix it. Now, what's funny is we had a similar situation, and it was coming from a house. And he went down, he says, yeah, it's coming from that house. And he says, you know what it sounds like, don't you? I said, no. He said, marijuana grow lamps.
Grow lights are really noisy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And up here in Vermont, we have a lot of farmland, and the fences are all electrified here with really high voltage, 10,000 volts, very low bills. And man, the noise on 160 is just horrendous.
Yeah, you pick them up for miles.
I grew up around farms, and we had a lot of electrified fences for cow pastures and horse farms and things like that. And they are noisy. There's no doubt about it. I remember touching one by accident when I was a kid. I was hiking, and when I was in the Boy Scouts, we were hiking through something, and like a dummy, I grabbed this fence, and it was dark out, and I just knocked it. Well, it didn't knock me out, but it sure gave me a heck of a jolt.
Yep.
And then all my buddies were laughing at me. But hey, these things happen.
The cows.
Thank you for sharing that picture, John. That is awesome. I love all those.
There'll be more close-ups there, Bob.
That is a D7000 transoceanic.
Yeah.
And I got a real short story about that. Now, I have one that I bought from a silent key from the Delaware Valley Historic Radio Club, and I still have it, and I love the radio. But one of the fellows in the New Jersey club, his name is John. He's like my brother from another mother. He's a good guy. And he just went to an auction. He just sent me the email yesterday. He went to an auction on Monday and picked a perfectly working version of this up at an auction for probably, now he didn't tell me what the buyer's fee is, everything, but his winning bid was $30. And I would think with the buyer's fee and everything, he probably paid a little more than $40 for this.
Oh my God.
I paid 130 for mine, and mine's like really in nice shape. It's got a few little light scratches on top, and I know the gentleman I bought from took really good care of it. But I was just, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, wow, that was a great deal.
Well,
You know?
I
It
have
wasn't
this,
museum quality, but everything
Yeah.
worked, including the weather bands that this has. This actually has the weather band on it.
right, that's right, exactly. I have the exact same radio. Mine came for free. A friend of mine's gave it to me. You know, we bought it years ago. He's in his 90s, the gentleman. He's still doing well and kicking around. And he said, you know, I got a couple of these radios. He gave me a Telefunken Bajazzo bass one that doesn't work too well. But he gave me this, and it's not perfect. It's a nice shape. Some of the intermediate bands don't work. I think it needs just a full restoration, but FM works well. The weather band does work. It has, you know, I think it was common on these with the plastic. You get a little bit of pitting happening on the plastic. Mine has some pitting. It's not awful, but you know what? It's a terrific radio. It's in great shape, and the thing weighs in. You know, this is early '70s stuff, and it's still hefty. It's got some heft behind it. It's a
What do
nice.
they use? About 6 or 8 D cells?
I think it's 9 actually, but one of them is for
9?
the dial light.
Yeah, I have to. My dialight works, but the lamp, the map lamp doesn't work. But I'm quite sure the lamp is good. But I think you have to, you know, open it up to work on this. I remember there's a guy who belongs to our club. He goes by Radio J Allen. He has an article. He has a website. He's posted lots of information on these radios, calling them which I agree, they're the last of the great Zenith TOs. Yeah, that was it.
Well, I know that this was the last one that was made in Chicago, and then the very, very last one was made in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And instead of the blue highlights like this one has, that one's in red. But that one's got some quirky things to it too. I mean, that's also an equally nice radio. Plus, it has meters on it. It's got 2 meters on it, and but it has a dial belt drive for the band switch that can get a little bit weird. So
this one's in like terrific condition. I
it
forgot.
looks really nice.
This I remember he said to me. He said this thing is practically brand new. You know, it's just you know, I don't see anything wrong with this, nary a blemish.
That's like museum quality right there.
Yeah, and I think he was asking probably museum quality price for good reason, but I'm sure that was a several hundred, you know, $300 or $400 radio. I'm sure, you know, maybe more. I don't remember what he was asking, but if you want,
just guys, if you ever see one of these things that's in working condition and you can get it for a reasonable price, and I would consider reasonable anything under $100 or less.
Yeah,
buy it. You won't be sorry. There's a BFO on this thing, so if you're a ham and you want to hear a sideband, upper and lower sideband, you can do that.
Yeah.
It's got a battery level meter on it. If you want to put batteries in it and take it with you on vacation. Where it says 11 band AM and FM, what John was just talking about, that's non-functional on his radio. There's actually a light in there. So when you turn on the dial light, if you have to look at something in the dark, you can.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of a cool feature.
It is. It's great. It just pops up. You just grab this tab here, lift it right up, and ta-da! You know, it is. When you look at it, even for early '70s, just good quality, really good quality stuff.
Yeah, they built good stuff. They did.
Yeah. You know, it's certainly a radio deserving of the name.
Yep.
And here's some close-ups. Here's, you know, these are just, you know, almost spotless. You know, just beautifully. I guess he got it from a collector. They bought the whole bunch for a pretty reasonable
He did
amount.
a really nice job detailing those radios. They're just really exceptional.
They pop. They absolutely pop. I honestly don't know what he was asking per radio. I'm sure he's commanding pretty solid price. I just don't know. But I was going around taking lots of photos. You know, they just look.
I'm really surprised. If you look at the Black Royal 500 right there.
Yep.
That's a 500. Like that's a model 500E.
Yeah.
And usually the plating that's below the knobs where it's kind of shiny, where it says Royal 500 long distance.
Yeah.
The lettering's almost always worn off, and that one looks perfect. And I saw a couple other ones on there that are in really, really nice shape.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like these things were just almost never used. You know, that's how good they look. You know, it's
and
like
and that pink one all the way to the left, that's a 7 transistor. that one's probably worth a long. I have one of them, but it's got a couple small chips in it. And the pink ones used to go a couple years ago. Those pink ones were going $400 or $500.
Wow.
Wow.
This is a terrific, these are just terrific, collection he had.
So this guy has some really, really nice pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the red one and the black one on the right. See how nice the lettering is on them? Those
Yeah.
are almost always worn off.
Almost perfect. I think I'm not even sure it's reflection. I might see just a little bit of the top of wear, but the wear is really minimal. I mean, someone took good care of them. It's really with
actually the white one there you could see there's a little bit of wear on it. You can scan over to your left there, John. You could see the white one there. You could see right below the zenith marker. So that's more typical of what you see. But even that one hasn't, having that much. I've seen them really like worn off to nothing though.
I think he had mentioned there were some radios he hadn't actually gotten to yet. I'm not sure if this one was one of those that he didn't get to actually do any serious restoration on. But you can see, I mean, it's not in too bad a shape. It certainly would pass muster. Whereas
it's above average compared to what you usually see at a swap meet or a flea market or whatever. So that's just an impressive collection of early zenith transistors.
Yeah, here's a few more.
Yeah, there's a little blemish there on that black one.
Yeah.
That's a 500E. And then there's a 500D to the right of that. They're both 8 transistor radios. And the 500B and C's were 7 transistor. And then the original 500s, they were 7 transistor and hand wired. Those things had point-to-point wiring on it.
Huh. Wow.
And if it's an original radio, the only way you can tell, and he doesn't really have any here, but on, like, for example, if you look at that black 500D to the left, the knob would actually have a line going down the center of it. It's just, I can't really explain it. It's like a molded line into the knob. Okay. That would be the original. That's a giveaway to say that it's probably a hand wired radio, but the only way to know for sure is to remove the back cover and look. But I've seen guys that are really like worse than I am when it comes to zenith stuff, and they would make the seller take the back off it. Like, get a screwdriver and let me see if it's really, it's almost like buying an expensive car, a classic car, and you want to make sure that the numbers matching motor and everything is matching or correct for the car. That kind of thing. So you can really go bonkers. I'm not going to say anything else.
Sure.
My level of enthusiasm is getting me carried away here. I'm sorry.
Oh, Bob, you're always welcome. No, that's absolutely no worries at all. Look at these. I mean, this way you can see the white one. Yeah, it's it's not awful, but sure, it looks.
I would consider that driver quality. If it's something you're going to carry around with you, that's a good big deal.
That's a good way to describe it. It's a daily driver. But this is the cases in really terrific condition. Just most of these, probably 3/4 of them are really just stunning, stellar condition. Now you can see this one needs some, like you said.
Then you have that lone Royal 400 there to the left. And that's actually a pretty decent radio. That's a 7 transistor, and that was probably made right around the time of the 500E series. At one time, I actually had 4 Royal 400s that I restored, and I actually had one of each color. There was 4 different colors. And one of my friends, I told him about it, and gave me an offer I couldn't refuse to buy them from me. So I let him have it. I figured, well, I could always find more.
Sure.
So I passed it on to him because I know he would appreciate them.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, look at this case. I mean, look at this, one to the right. I mean, it just looks absolutely perfect.
Even the cases are nice. I mean, they're really in nice shape.
I mean, this one you can see a little bit of, the black one, but it looked like it was used. But it's not. This is not.
Yeah.
It was used. And they obviously the condition reflects it.
Yeah, that's a Royal. That's a driver quality case and radio right there.
Absolutely, some cleanup, and you can bring a little bit more out of it with some little bit of labor, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, here's another set that I think was some of the last ones. It's just terrific. You know, the guy got quite a find in where we bought these from. Yeah, actually, maybe what I should do is I will stop here. Guess it's now getting close to the witching hour. I'll do is for next meeting we'll probably do John, if you're available, we'll do the AWA photos, and maybe we could do a little more Friedrichshafen, and I'll pick up where we left off with Brookline, and we'll easily catch it in early November. But so I guess what I should do is sort of, unless anyone has any announcement, any other things we're going to bring up, is I'll close up the meeting and wish you guys a great Halloween, and good weather, and stay well. And we'll be talking to you over email, I'm sure, over groups.io, with whatever threads come up, and certainly when no later than the next Zoom meeting in early November.
Bye, everybody.
I'll stop sharing. Let's see here.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Hi, John.
Thanks,
Hey,
John.
Bob,
Thanks for letting me in, guys.
hey, you
I
got
had
a
a lot of fun
permanent.
tonight.
You get a permanent invite, so just join it. Always welcome, Bob, and thanks everybody.
Okay.
Great hearing all the great normal.
Thank you for
feedback.
having me. This was fun.
No, it's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. You know, thanks everybody.
It was fun.
Fun meeting.
And Bob, Bob already dropped out. Oh, there he is. I saw your kitty cat before, Bob. He's just a little tiny thing.
Yeah, he's about like that when he sits on me.
That's funny.
Yeah,
He thinks I'm
we
his
have two
chair.
cats here. I just got a kitten. He's just about this big. He's 11 weeks old, and I think he's sleeping right now, so I'm not going to wake him up. But my 4.5-year-old cat jumped up on my lap for about 5 minutes and then decided to move on. He's got ADD. He's awake? Okay.
Today,
Wife
mine
says he's
discovers that
awake.
that one big I have in the other corner is a nice warm spot.
That's it.
I
Yeah,
got
we had to change the weather down here in Jersey, but I'm sure you guys have it colder up by you. But
We got a
the
little
cats
cool
like to
today.
go try to find a warm spot, like by a radiator,
Yep.
or the TV. I have an old LCD TV with the backlit thing, and that throws out a lot of heat. So they like to be close to that. So
Oh, sure.
I had to get up, get a drink of water. When I came back, he was sitting in the chair where I was sitting. So I had to move it over and get my other chair.
the New Jersey club guru, I don't know if you know him, Al Clays. He's got
Oh yeah.
he's got a couple Maine Coon cats, and
Oh, wow.
they're bigger than my Buick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. They're super
they're some
friendly.
big cats.
They're super friendly though.
They're nice cats. They really are.
Yeah, they're great.
I
great
love all that.
personality.
I was raised on in a farm area, so I've been exposed to cats, dogs, pigs, ducks,
Yep.
chickens, you name it. But animals are fun. I've always enjoyed them.
Yep. They're good companions, especially now that I work from home. He just keeps me company all day.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
great.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to take off, guys. Take care, and I'll see you.
Good night.
All right, guys. Thanks
Nice
very
meeting
much.
y'all.
Great seeing you, everybody. We'll
Bye.
see you in a couple of weeks.
See you guys. Thanks, John.
Nice.
Thanks, John.
Take care. Bye.